Hi, brave schoolers. Hello, everyone who's live, anyone who's on replay. I'm Julie Bogart, coming to you from Westchester, Ohio, which is outside of Cincinnati. We're a moment late only because I wanted to sit outside and I had everything set up, and then school buses went by, and then loud trucks and cars, and I thought, yeah, that's not going to work. I'm going to try and read aloud, and I can't read aloud if I've got the entire city waking up driving by my front door. So anyway, here we are back in my house. Welcome. If you are new to these daily broadcasts, I want to tell you a little bit about what we're doing. So we are reading a book I wrote called A Gracious Space. There are 3 volumes, one for fall, one for winter, and one for spring. In each of these books are 50 essays, and they look like this. They say things, I can't even hold it up long because it's backwards. I'm aware of that, but I still have to show you. So it has each essay broken into a day. So there's day 1, day 2, day 3. And today we're on day 8. So we've been at this every day for 8 days. The only days we would take off are on the weekend. So 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I get up and at 8 in the morning, I read you an essay. And then we talk about it. If you want to have your own copy, you can certainly get one. You simply go to Amazon.com and look for A Gracious Space Fall or my name, Julie Bogart, or you can go to bravewriter.com/GSFall, and that will take you right to our page. We have it in both digital on our site or print form through Amazon. Okay, so thank you for joining me. And if you're new, and this is your first time, please say so. What I do after I'm done reading is I go through all the comments and I look for new people and I answer your questions. And so if you need some personal attention, make sure you say hi and make sure you ask for it. I love to give it. So good morning, Kathy, Nicole, Michelle, Allie. Great to see you. It does feel like fall here in Ohio as well, Michelle. Rhode Island. Oh, that's great, Allie. If you want to put where you're from in the comments, I love that too. It's fun to see people checking in from all over the world, not even just all over the states. It is a beautiful fall week here in Cincinnati, and I'm really enjoying that. Hey, Bonnie. Oh, you've been enjoying these morning visits. I'm so glad. I have too, except for the fact that I hate getting up early. And I don't even get up that early, but my gosh, you would think I was waking up at 5 in the morning to head out to the mines or something. I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. And then I have my voice and I'm like, huh? So thank you for helping me wake up. I have to be bright and cheery, and I'm not even I haven't even had a whole pot of tea yet. So that's how much I love you. I'm giving up sleep and tea. If that doesn't convince you of my deep affection, I don't know what will. All right, good to see you, Heather and Jill. Pittsburgh! Oh, that's where Katrin goes to college, although that's my youngest. I have 5 kids. They are all grown. My youngest, Katrin, just turned 20 this week. 20! I have no more teenagers. But she's studying in Paris this fall. So she's a University of Pittsburgh Panther normally, but this fall she's in Paris. So yeah, yay for Pittsburgh. I love going up there. I need to get up there and see all of you. Let's do it when Katrin gets home. Then I can do a double. I can go see her and go see all the Pittsburgh people. Hi, Kelly. Yes, okay, so Kelly is in the UK. Who doesn't know this? I'm coming to the UK. I am speaking in Milton Keyes, October 21st, 22nd. Do you guys know this? Or maybe it's 20th and 21st. Anyway, I'm totally doing that. We will put this in the comments because I would love it if you're in the UK, if you came. The person who's coordinating the event is a longtime Brave Writer fan, and we are amassing a group. And the cool thing is, Nancy Graham from our staff is coming with me. So there's going to be a lot of Brave Writer fun in England. We've never done this before, gone to England for a conference. So I'm anticipating lots of tea, scones, and fun. So yes, oh good, I'm glad you're coming, Kelly. That is fabulous. All right, so are we ready? Today's reading is long. Long! It's multiple pages. It's not one of these short ones. So buckle up. Here we go. Day 8 from A Gracious Space Fall. a worthy investment. We're all busy. We want shortcuts, easy explanations, to-do lists, and obvious fast results. Homeschooling doesn't work that way. It's an investment. It takes time. Lots of time. Time you don't have. When you decide to homeschool, you're choosing a degree program for yourself. You're choosing to become an autodidact, self-taught student of learning, how it happens, under what conditions, using what tools, for which sorts of kids in what subject areas. To get a quality understanding of the nature of learning requires reading, a lot of reading. It is on task to read email lists, homeschool bulletin boards, blogs, websites, curriculum books, the teacher's notes for any program you select, books about learning, homeschooling books about the philosophy of education, Charlotte Mason's education series, educators who have left the system to create new models of learning, like Maria Montessori, John Holt, and more. You have to do it. Most of us want to. Some of us worry that it will take too much time. You can't think that way. If you get impatient, I don't want to understand the reasoning behind this program, I just want to know what to do, you will eventually be frustrated by that program. I'm going to read that paragraph again. You might be here right now. If you get impatient, I don't want to understand the reasoning behind this program, I just want to know what to do, you will eventually be frustrated by that program. There is no do this and it gets done program. Each one requires knowing how to use it and what to do when there are blocks to progress. Trained teachers spend years earning degrees to understand how to bring about the aha that signals learning in a classroom. School has its own properties that require specific skill sets to create learning. Home has other properties. These need to be studied, tried, lived, revised, tested, and measured against new information as you receive it. It is worth it, absolutely, to read the intent behind the philosophy before applying the practices. If you are so busy that you don't have time to invest in training yourself to be a home educator, you must consider whether this is what you want to do with your life. Your kids deserve a parent at home who is well equipped to make learning an adventure that leads to joy and competence. They should not be subjected to drudgery. Schools at least provide activities, field trips, friends, and variety. We all need help. There's no shame in signing up for a co-op or tutoring, taking online classes, or swapping with a friend. She teaches your kids math and you teach her kids writing. You make decisions to involve others based on your philosophy of education, not because you don't want to do the work yourself. Even if you use a co-op, your involvement at home is critical. Parents of kids in school help their kids with homework every day. There are no shortcuts. When you triangle in help, involve passionate, competent people in the education of your children. I would rather have my kids learn how to shoot photos from my friend's husband, who is a professional photographer, than to teach them myself. I would rather swap math and language arts with my other friend, since she's a whiz at calculus and conveys passion about math, while I provide a similar experience with writing. But in no case is it advisable to simply hand a child a book and ask that child to work through it, without you exerting some kind of effort to set up the lesson or to structure a context that makes the work meaningful. I hear all too often that certain curricula, sometimes mine, are too dense with philosophy or explanation about why and how the processes of learning work. The parents are busy. They want to get to the practices. But does that work really? What do you do when you barge ahead and the child winds up reluctant, resistant, or in tears? What do you do when the boredom of the daily practice turns into cheating, looking up answers in the back just to get done? What happens when you get to a process in the text that you don't get that had perhaps been explained in the opening? There's absolutely no shortcut to homeschooling. It's an incredible undertaking of love and commitment. Whether you unschool or use textbooks, in both cases, a sturdy, ongoing investigation of how to problem solve and foster a love of learning will be your primary work for 15 plus years. It's great work. I loved it. Most parents who stick with homeschooling do. But remember, when you are tempted to take a shortcut, you may be circumventing the most important part of teaching, understanding why and how to create the right conditions for learning to catch fire. Invest. The dividends are rich. Quote of the day. What a great post. I am in my 13th year of homeschooling my 5 children. It is the best degree program I ever could have invested my life in. But just as checked in as I can be, I can also check out. That is when I have to reevaluate and commit and check back in. I appreciate this wisdom. That is from Jonelle Rust Hughes. Sustaining thought. No shortcuts. Rather, an investment in your children and in yourself to learn and grow and learn and grow some more. That feels like I just dropped a heavy responsibility on everybody's poor, weary shoulders. So let's soften the impact of this essay. I believe in it wholeheartedly. But now you have me here so I can be friendly about it. So here's what I want you to take away from today's reading. Sometimes, because we're overwhelmed, we've got all of the household tasks. We've got soccer practice and sports events. We have piano lessons. We've got multiple children at multiple levels in multiple subjects. And here's what happens. We're looking for some relief. We're exhausted. We aren't sure we have time to sit down and read the front matter of the math book when we just want to do fractions. And you know, of course, you can just plow ahead, especially if math is your jam. Like if you already know, then maybe you don't have to have the crutch of reading the instructions before you start math. Likewise, if writing is natural for you, maybe it isn't as critical to understand the philosophy of whatever product you're using. But for so many of us, we aren't comfortable in all the various subject areas. We can't lead without some support. And what you're going to find out when you take the time to either read the program, read the instructions, read before you talk to your kids, is you're going to bolster your confidence. That feeling that you need for the successful transmission of information to your kids, where you have an overflow, where you are capable of narrating the information easily, that comes from a little bit of study, a little bit of reading ahead. And here's the secret that's actually not in this essay, and I kind of wish it were. Here's the secret. Do it right in the middle of the day. Do it in the middle of the day. Most of us feel like we're supposed to leave the presence of our children and hide in the secret curriculum development closet where they don't know we're becoming educated to educate them. Like we feel like we have to do it where they don't know what's happening. Because if we were to do it where they knew it was happening, they'd find out we were frauds, right? Like, uh-oh, mom really doesn't remember how to find a common denominator, right? Like that's the anxiety, that's the fear. Don't worry about that. That's left over from school where you didn't know that your teacher, Mr. Thornton, actually shopped at a supermarket. Like for you, he lived in this little test tube called the classroom, right? And so there's a part of you that feels like to be a truly effective home educator, you have to have these properties available to you as if by magic. And then you just show up during the day and it's all happening so flawlessly and easily and smoothly. And then you hit this block in the book and you're afraid to go back and read, right? I'm glad, Emily, you go back and look it up together. Exactly. Stop right then. Say, I want to understand what we're supposed to do here, and do it. But you can also even park your kids in front of PBS and say, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I really want to understand what this writer is getting at before we start doing what the writer asks us to do. So go watch, Arthur or whatever TV show you want. I'm going to sit here at the table, and then when I'm done, we're going to start. Give yourself permission to give your full attention. That is something that you can help yourself with. This is the way you grow as a home educator. And if you need in the morning, the warm-up. We talk about in my morning routine YouTube video, which you can go find. It's the most popular one on there. I talk about a transition time from breakfast to the more academic style of morning. In other words, you don't just go from eating Cheerios to boom, the math book. Maybe you eat Cheerios and there's this in-between stage where your kids play with blocks and you read 2 or 3 of your favorite homeschool blogs. And you do that to sort of everybody warm up to this learning moment, this, okay, now we're going to do copy work, or now we're going to go sit in the rocker and have our read aloud time. If you give your children some space while you're building your own energy, and then you all come together, you'll have more to give, and they'll have more to receive, and they'll feel nurtured. Now, I know some of you are going to say, my kids don't feel nurtured. They don't love it when I come up and say, okay, now we're ready to do this program. So let's save that for another day. We've addressed it a little bit in these first 8 days of these essays. But where I want you to go today is to think about what it feels like when someone lovingly prepares something for you. For instance, maybe you have a spouse who on your hard day makes dinner. Doesn't that feel amazing? Or have you ever had your mother or mother-in-law show up for a week and they take over the organization of the pantry? Or you have a child who just volunteers to clean all the dishes because you're tired and it's time for bed. I have a son like that. When someone prepares something for me or takes care of a need I have, I experience that as love. You can do this for your children. You can be intentional, take some time to understand what you're doing, prepare to bring your best understanding to that moment with optimism, without feeling harried, frantic, in a hurry, in a rush. Now, it doesn't mean they'll always like it. Your husband might make dinner and it might not be a good meal. He might burn the toast. He might, make food you don't like or forget that you're allergic to shellfish. I mean, these things happen. It doesn't always turn out perfectly. But when you give yourself permission to be prepared and you think through the impact of what you're about to do with your children, they will many times experience it as love. You know what we have as evidence of this that you all know is true? Poetry tea time. The setting of the table, the preparation of the books, the making of the tea, the having a snack. Your kids experience this as love. That's why it's so successful. That's why poetry tea time is taking storm in homeschool. Because everyone, from the parent who values poetry to the child who values a snack, experiences the whole process as a delivery system for love. And in the bargain is learning, because learning comes when we feel relaxed, open-hearted, interested, and willing. It's enough with the they have to do it. My goodness, anytime I tell a parent something that I think will generate love, or I ask a parent to consider if right now the child's pain and anxiety is too great, someone comes back and says to me, but they have to do it, but it has to happen. We've got to find a way. Well, find the loving way. Learn more. Find out more. If you have a stalemate over history in your family, find out who's doing history so that it feels like love. And go learn from them. That's our goal. Because homeschooling is a worthy investment. And the things that are worth our investment are sourced in that love, sourced in relationship and connection, and creating a great place to be. One of the things that I know from my own family life is that I tended to rely on workbooks and easy products, things that I could use quickly when I was in a stressful period in my life. And so I want to give some permission to that too. Not every day can be this perfectly orchestrated poetry tea time of a math lesson. I get that. And there are seasons of your life where your commitment level is necessarily less devoted than others. This is the ebb and flow of being a human being, not just a home educator. You can have even a year or two of things being a little less than ideal. You know, you rely on a textbook, you hire tutors, you use a co-op, you're not as physically or emotionally present. You can do that if you've laid a foundation where your kids know that you actually are fully invested in their education. That's the difference. And so when you have a season, like the fall in particular, where everyone's energy is high and where you do have the emotional resources to devote to home education, use this time to invest. Now is the time to buy, right? To get in there and make the investment so that when you have to pull on it, when you have to withdraw, there's something in the bank and your kids can roll with it. You got it? So that's today's talk. Yeah, you know, Monica says she's going through a tough season. So I went through multiple tough seasons. I gave birth. You know, with 5 kids, you're giving birth every 2 years. There are pregnancies that are hard. There's the recovery from birth. There's the cramming yet another child into a way too small house, actually condo, with no yard, 3 kids in a bedroom. Some of you have lived that life. Your husband loses his job, and here you are, a single income family, and now you have no health insurance, and you're pregnant again. Yeah, I've lived that life. Your marriage suffers mightily. You have to get separated. I've lived that life during homeschool. I have a really good friend, got diagnosed with breast cancer. One day she didn't have it, the next day she did. She was homeschooling 3 kids. She's lived that life. Stuff happens. You are not going to get through 10 or 15 years of homeschooling without a really crappy year. That is going to happen. And you may have 2 or 3 of them. So in the years that are not terrible, that do not have some blind side from left field, make the most of those years. Invest. Don't wonder why your children aren't more independent. Be excited that you have interdependence going on. Really partner with them. Have the homeschool that brings joy and satisfaction to your family. Don't have the homeschool that's all about discipline and making sure your children learn to be independent and punishing them for not wanting to do the next page. Like, let's not have that be the homeschool during the year when you have boundless energy and a reasonable financial platform to stand on, right? Like when life is going good, this is the time to invest deeply. Don't back off and think, well, why am I having to help with math? Think, oh, I get to help with math. This will be great. We're going to bond. We're going to have a great relationship today. I'm making the investment now because life is kind of working and I'm noticing. And I'm going to hey, you guys watch TV. I've got a great idea, but I need time to think about it. Go watch TV. I've got to think about this plan. Can someone play with the toddler? I have this great idea. Right? I talk about on one of my YouTubes, go look it up, The Enchanted Education. And I talk about what I call the 4 horsemen of enchantment. Mystery, surprise, risk, and adventure. Bring those properties to your homeschool. That's how you invest deeply. Take a risk. Try something that sounds good that you don't understand yet. Go read about it and then try to do it. That is a risk. Go on an adventure. Give yourself permission to exclude some other subject so that you can give a full day devoted to really understanding how this program does this one subject. And have an adventure. Today is all about math. We won't be reading, we won't be writing because, hey, guess what, you guys? I don't really get how to do this. Can you partner with me and let's figure it out? I think I need, what do we need? I think we need scissors. Oh, it looks like we need the Cuisinart rods. I think it'd be great if we also had a whiteboard. Who's going to help me gather all the materials? Let's bring them all to the table. I'm going to read this out loud, and I'm going to read it in my educated British voice, and we are going to learn how to do math today. And I have a terrible British voice, so you can be really silly. And dive in. Turn today and homeschool into an adventure. Not a discipline that you have to execute, but oh, you're such a, long-suffering, devoted, faithful mother, and you get pats on the back from all your other mother-suffering friends. Nobody wants a martyr for a mother. Nobody. You know you don't. If your mother is one, you already know you don't. You don't want martyrs. We want partners. We want buddies. We want companions. We want mothers who surprise us, right? Who show up in their, Mrs. Frizzle earrings like I am today. Right? Oh, Susie says that she finds herself doing everything but science. It always falls through the cracks. Okay, can I tell you a little funny secret? So one of my very good friends, Carrie, I hope she's on here. I don't know if she is. She often watches these later in the day. Carrie has 6 kids. We homeschooled at the same time. And we met each other on a discussion board back in the dark ages of homeschool. And and it was the only thing going. Like, it was back before the internet was big, so there was like one watering hole on the entire internet for homeschoolers, and we all went there. And Carrie posted this one post. She says, "Are you a member of HENSE? HENSE?" And I was like, what is that? So I clicked on the link, and inside it was Home Educators Neglecting Science Education. I was like, yes, that's me. Okay, but here's what's really funny. Carrie teaches biology, physiology to high schoolers. Like, she's totally skilled in the sciences. That's what her degree's in. But when her kids were really small, and when mine were small, I didn't have a science textbook. I just didn't. So anyway, she gave this great post on how science was occurring naturally already in our home education experiences. And that really opened my eyes, because it was. We were doing astronomy because we were learning about the sky. I was this active bird watcher, and so we learned all about birds. In fact, to the point where I ordered the massive textbook from Cornell Lab, we were absolutely studying the human body using blood and guts and any other tool that I found in the library that told us about our changing bodies, or, the various systems of elimination. I mean, my kids were fascinated with that stuff. That was happening. We were doing our little kitchen chemistry projects because they would show up in a book, and all Jacob wanted to do was blow things up, because who doesn't? Like, that's too fun. I would find out, oh, here's a book with a magnifying glass, and I'd bring it home from the library and get a magnifying glass. So science showed up even when I was neglecting it. And that's part of this morning as well. You can't do everything well every day, and you can't buy the right curriculum for every subject. But that's okay. You are giving them a well-rounded life when you stay fully engaged in this life with your children. I always worry about words like absolutely and fully. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean. I'm giving you permission to be sick. I'm giving you permission to have an off day. I mean, if you've hung around me at all, that's all mixed in. The most science we did this year was making that light bulb. Nicole, yeah, actually, you want to know something funny? So we have a community called the Homeschool Alliance. Someone can put in the comments. It's at CoachJulieBogart.com. And each month, I give you an extracurricular challenge. This month, we're working on writing, actually. But we've done telescopes. We've done video games. We have focused on poetry. We have focused on board games. All different ways of engaging learning that are not necessarily natural to you. And we give you 3 challenges: an easy peasy level, a moderate level, and an advanced level. And then I provide you with actual activities, links, places to go on the internet, so that it is easy for you to do those projects. So if that's something that you're interested in, having some support in that area, we do it every month. And we have activities going back 2 years. Heather says she's giving herself permission to take off before she gets sick. Yes, 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 absolutely. That is part of making a deep investment. It is knowing when not to put in money, right? It's knowing when to back off before a market crash, before a systems fail, right? Good. Awesome. I like hearing that, Nicole. That's wonderful. It was just enough to inspire, but not overwhelming. Just a great memory. And that's the point. You are holding the memory banks of your children in the palms of your two hands. You know, if you look back, so many of your memories were formed in school. But if your kids are schooling at home, their memories are happening here in your house. And so we want to care for those. Homeschooling is a huge commitment. And don't let anyone tell you that you can get off easily. You know, the unschoolers who make it look like school happens magically, the ones that I know personally are really, really devoted to every micro movement. It's like they are good at taking the raw material of their children's interests, and they have that magical assist that helps them boost it, turbo boost it into the education that child needs. Not everybody is built that way. Not everyone's built that way. So you take the raw material of who you are and the raw material of who your kids are, and then the various tools that you've assembled, and you go for it. You commit fully, and you give your heart to the work right in the middle of the day when you have the most energy available. And you take it a day at a time, and some days look like you're teaching yourself, and other days look like you're teaching your kids. And all together it gets bundled up into this big, beautiful bow, and that's homeschool. And one day it will be over, and your youngest will turn 20, and you'll be hanging out with people still homeschooling, and it'll make you a little bit nostalgic. And that's where I am right now. So I love seeing what y'all are doing. Make sure you post pictures on Instagram and tag me because I want to see. I love following you, and I love seeing what you're doing. It keeps me going. Homeschool is a privilege, even when it's hard. So just know that. You're giving your kids the best education on the planet, and the memories to last a lifetime, and the relationships that you long for. So even with crisis and drama and trauma and pain, homeschool can still be the ship that helps you navigate those choppy waters. Was for me. I hope it is for you. All right then, let's get at it. Where are we? Ha! We did it. A half hour. I love you all. Mwah. Have a fantastic day. Post your questions in the comments, depending on how your how your screen is working. And I'll see you online. Live honestly, write bravely. I'm Julie Bogart from Brave Writer.